6:55 now, turning to a wrap of your top stories of the day.
Good Wednesday morning. There's a new bill from lawmakers that's aimed at strengthening the previous laws on the book with the way sheriffs dealt with ICE officials. The bill called the Criminal Illegal Enforcement Act would require county sheriffs to work more closely with federal immigration officials. This bill aims to strengthen previous immigration enforcement by now mandating sheriffs to notify ICE before releasing individuals from jail. That bill is now sitting on Governor Stein's desk.
Today, family, friends, and first responders will come together to honor a fallen Hickory firefighter. 20-year-old Jake Bridges died last week when he suffered a medical emergency shortly after crews put out a fire. His funeral is set for 11 this morning at the Hickory Metro Convention Center. It is open to the public.
All right, let's take a check at those area roadways before we let you go. For this morning, you can see this is the one most impactful accident. It's on Independence, those inbound lanes definitely being impacted. It's on Independence and exit 244, that's Television Place, so add a few extra minutes to that morning commute. Chris.
And good morning, all. We don't really have a big temperature difference across the week, pretty much 86 to around 89 degrees. And then each day has pretty much a chance for a thunderstorm or just a rain shower, especially by the end of the day. Today is the only exception.
This is your pick of the week, yes?
It is my pick of the week. Yep, enjoy it. It's a little less humid, barely. Sticky.
We'll take what we can get.
Day. All right, a reminder, the news doesn't end here. We're live all day with breaking news, weather, and traffic.
That's on WCNC Plus, or we are streaming now. Join us.
Thanks for joining us as we stream live right now at 7 a.m. here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington. Let's take a live look over uptown where you can see the skies are clearing out after the rain yesterday. But will they stay that way? Chris joins us now with our WCNC weather impact forecast.
And my answer is yes. Majestic? Just joking. I have a lot more to talk about. We have a beautiful blue sky, and it is going to be a nice mix of cloud and sunshine across the day. Here's what that looks like. I think at times you might have a darker cloud or two saying that, hey, I'm going to rain. I'm going to rain. No, just joking. Because what's going to happen is I think that we're going to have enough energy to promote near rain really in the middle of the atmosphere, but it's not going to really happen here at the surface. Already 69 degrees right around Charlotte, but you're noticing that we have some cooler air to the north. It's 49 degrees right now in Boone. That's fantastic. That's some really dry air. And then even 60 degrees around Morganton and Statesville shows that we do have the power of that cold front. Oh, by the way, temperatures updating live right now. You get that here on WCNC Plus. Well, technically you get that at the top of every hour, but it makes WCNC Plus seem more special. But we have a look at 50 degrees now in Boone, 61 in Statesville and around Morganton. Now let's talk about the fog. We have a half-mile visibility over in Shelby, a quarter-mile visibility here around Salisbury. Those are only two spots that we have some patchy dense fog. That's literally the definition right there. But most of the area just fine, you can see right in front of you. But then another example is you might be looking out and about, and then you said, hey, it's decently cloudy. It's mostly cloudy right now. Well, this is what this is. This is that low deck of clouds. Eventually, this is going to rise off and burn off. We actually can see little avenues in here, so it is partly sunny to mostly cloudy for some areas, such as over in Lincoln County and in Gaston County. As far as rain goes for the near term, none really around Charlotte. We have an active cold front that's draped across the area. That's why it was so cool up in the mountains, because that's the only areas that have really been impacted by the passing front. This is more of a cool front, not a cold front. If this was a really strong one, we would be seeing a temperature shift. Likely we'd be in the lower 80s and it would feel great. But no. Nothing really changes. We're actually warmer than what we had yesterday because I think we have a little bit more sunshine. Now, we will populate more clouds as we head into the afternoon, but this front will start to move back. This is technically called a backdoor front right around the Charlotte area by the latter part of the afternoon. If we do see rain, it's going to be right around Albemarle down to Sherrod or Rockingham. So most of the area is staying dry. Just letting you know that there is a slight chance that we see a shower or storm develop there. Charlotte, again, very, very, very low chance, a near zero chance, I think, that you see rain by the evening. Maybe 5% chance. But 88 degrees is going to be our high for today. Winds out of the southwest, barely blowing. 69 degrees overnight tonight, mid-60s around Hickory, and then we have the mid-50s up in the mountains. And then by tomorrow, we have 86 degrees. So that's actually one of the cooler highs that we have, and that's not cool whatsoever. We're ranging anywhere from the mid to the upper 80s all week long, but tomorrow does come with a better chance for a shower or a thunderstorm to develop right around 2 o'clock and beyond. That's the magic hour. After 2, anything goes, especially when you're this hot and this humid, and that moisture value is only going to ramp up as we continue through this week. Isolated shower turns a little bit more scattered by the latter part of the afternoon. Truly, the next 2 days, Thursday and Friday, that's where we have the best chance, I think, for showers and storms during the evening hours. So coming up here later on in the half hour, I'm going to continue this futurecast showing you rain chances heading towards the weekend, and which day I think looks to be the wettest. But first, we have to transition over to the roads. Let's head down to Majestic Storm. What's going on the ground?
Good morning, everyone. Well, here's a live look. You can see it's all dry. It is a nice start to our morning, and easy moving commute right now. So let's break this all down for you. I-77, little sunshine breaking through, and we do have multiple accidents I need to let you know about. This is the most impactful one. It's on Independence, so if you're taking Independence inbound, this is going to slow you down a little bit. It's at exit 277 or 244, which is over towards Television Place. Another one here in the uptown area. It's on Graham Street and Trade Street. Minor impacts with that. Off to the east, though, still watching this. Rockwell, good morning to you. I've been seeing this accident that's been ongoing for quite some time. It's on Highway 52 between Gold Hill Ave and Cross Street. Eastbound lanes being impacted there. And then as we zoom it on out, this big area is shaded in orange. That's where the fog is going to be the densest this morning. So out towards Salisbury specifically, visibility less than a half of a mile at times, so slow it down. I-77, you can see heading towards the uptown area from Cornelius out towards Huntersville, starting to see those typical backups, but no accidents to report there right now. You can see our drive times this morning. If you're coming in from Salisbury, remember some patchy fog early in the day, about 50 minutes to get you into Charlotte, and about 25 if you're coming in from Matthews.
7:05 now. We are getting new video this morning out of Los Angeles where you can see police confronting protesters overnight. This morning, Marines are arriving in the city to protect law enforcement officers as they prepare for the 6th straight day of those anti-ICE protests. It comes as North Carolina bill is just one signature away from becoming law. Now, it would force sheriffs across the state to work with federal immigration agents. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane joins us live this morning with a closer look at what it changes. And Richard, that bill is now headed to Governor Stein's desk.
That's correct. And if he signs it, it becomes the law. Now, this bill is actually put out for what legislators say forcing some sheriffs, including here in Mecklenburg County, to follow the already existing rules. Now, opponents say it's going to add to racial profiling and some other concerns, but we can talk about this bill. It's called House Bill 318. And as you said, it's now sitting on Governor Stein's desk for approval. The bill, called the Criminal Illegal Alien Enforcement Act, would require county sheriffs to work more closely with federal immigration officials. Now, this bill aims to strengthen previous immigration enforcement by now mandating sheriffs to notify ICE officials before releasing individuals from jail. They have to do so at least 2 hours before they release any person from jail who's been arrested. And it also addresses concerns that some counties were not fully cooperating with ICE, like here in Mecklenburg County. Some opponents of the bill say it'll lead to more racial profiling and ultimately people living in fear.
This bill does not make anybody safe. In fact, it really hinders people's ability to trust our judicial system, because people who are simply charged and not convicted of a crime will not have due process.
Some of the folks that they are in constant communication with are now living in a pretty much constant state of fear. They're like paralyzed and afraid to go out, afraid to go to work. Some of their children who are students in our Charlotte Mecklenburg schools are afraid to go to school.
And if Stein signs off on the bill, it will become a law October the 1st. Guys.
Now, Richard, you mentioned Mecklenburg County, of course. How does this bill directly impact sheriffs like here in our area?
Yeah, you can almost subtitle this the Gary McFadden or Mecklenburg County bill, because of the fact that certain sheriff's deputies, actually the House Speaker said about 10 counties, singling out Mecklenburg County as the lead county, have not been following the law, House Bill 10, that was already on the books, saying that this particular bill will now strengthen that, close those loopholes, so to speak, requiring the sheriffs to notify ICE agents some 22 hours before releasing anyone, and putting a hold on anyone who's convicted of DUI or other felonies, which they widen that particular net, so to speak. They have to identify, and I let ICE know about folks who have been arrested under those charges. A lot of folks are concerned because they say that would make anyone arrested, have to go through this, especially people who seem to be, I'll say, minorities, so to speak. This is going to affect a lot of people. We're going to be trying to speak with McFadden, who said he's always going to follow the law, but we'll see how this new bill, if it's signed, will affect him directly and the people here in Mecklenburg County.
All right, now Richard Devane live for us this morning in Charlotte. Richard, thanks so much for that report.
As tensions reach a boiling point over on the West Coast, President Trump spoke about the protests during a visit yesterday to Fort Bragg. He explained why he deployed hundreds of Marines to the city, saying he has another 2,000 ready to deploy.
Under the Trump administration, this anarchy will not stand. We will not allow federal agents to be attacked, and we will not allow an American city to be invaded and conquered by a foreign enemy. And that's what they are. Very simply, we will liberate Los Angeles and make it free, clean, and safe again. It's happening very quickly.
Meanwhile, a curfew now in effect in L.A. as the Marines and National Guard occupy more of that city. This morning, we're learning troops could be on the ground for up to 2 months. NBC's Chris Palome now in Washington this morning as President Trump continues to defend that controversial deployment.
The streets of downtown Los Angeles largely quiet overnight after the city's mayor instituted a mandatory curfew. followed another day of protests against widespread federal immigration raids. California Governor Gavin Newsom condemned the violent confrontations between protesters and police, which started Friday.
I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account.
But Newsom once again accused President Trump of making the situation worse. The president sending thousands of National Guard troops and hundreds of Marines to L.A. against the wishes of state and local leaders. Newsom now suing to send them home.
He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. We do not want our streets militarized by our own armed forces, not in LA, not in California, not anywhere.
Speaking to soldiers in North Carolina, President Trump defended the deployments.
If we didn't do this, Los Angeles would burn. It would be burning to the ground right now, just like the houses burned to the ground just a few months ago.
On Capitol Hill, Democrats pressed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on the price tag for the National Guard deployment.
Could the Secretary please address the budget? Thank you.
You asked about the situation in Los Angeles, and we believe ICE agents should be allowed to be safe in doing their operations.
The Pentagon revealing it will cost roughly $134 million. And it appears the Trump administration will soon target other cities.
Should people expect to see similar operations in the rest of the country? Yeah.
Two sources tell NBC News that ICE special response teams will soon be deployed in 5 cities run by Democratic leadership. Those cities are Seattle, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and New York. But it is unclear when immigration raids will begin in those cities. In Washington, Chris Pallone, NBC News.
A controversial gun bill is advancing in Raleigh this morning. It would eliminate the need for a concealed carry permit. Right now, state law allows open carry without a permit. But if you want to carry a concealed gun, you are required to get a permit. The process includes a safety course, fingerprinting, and a criminal background check. But Senate Bill 50 would eliminate all of those requirements.
He's wearing open carry. He decides to stop at the store on the way home. It's a little colder. As it stands today, and he puts his coat on, he commits a crime. As with this bill, only thing this does is says I can put my coat on with my gun on, and I'm fine.
A recent Elon University poll shows 54% of North Carolinians oppose dropping the permit requirement, while 34% support the change.
In South Carolina, state lawmakers have less than a week to explain why they voted to give themselves a pay raise. It comes amid a lawsuit from York County Senator Wes Clymer. He's asking the state Supreme Court to block a nearly $20,000 annual pay raise for members of the state legislature. He claims it violates the state constitution. However, other lawmakers argue they've not seen a salary change in nearly 3 decades, and they think the boost could encourage a lot more folks to actually run for statewide office.
And I hope that this will encourage more people to run for office. Now, we are in session half the year. This is a full-time job, and people have to realize that and understand that. You know, when we're back in our districts, we're sponsoring events out of our own pockets.
The Supreme Court has ordered both sides to submit briefs before the end of the month. The goal is to make a decision before the new budget takes effect on July 1st.
Street vendors in NODA could soon face more regulations and new fees. Charlotte City Council is moving forward on a pilot program to expand permitting rules. It's all to prevent safety hazards that businesses say are pushing them out. WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay talked to concerned business owners.
Like the sound of a customer coming into Jody Lynn McNeely's studio. The sounds of NODA are full of promise.
It's fun. It can be eclectic. It can be very enjoyable.
But to some business owners, this sounds more like an alarm.
It's congested and it's uncomfortable and it's becoming unsafe for shoppers.
McNeely rents a studio space on North Davidson. She says she supports street vendors, but has concerns about health and safety.
Distributing food that is not monitored by the health department is scary. Having shoppers in the street, scary.
That's why she also supports more regulations from Charlotte City Council's potential new permitting program.
It has very narrow sidewalks and lots of legacy infrastructure that really just can't substantiate all of the additional street vending activity.
Now, only one part of the city has permit requirements for street vendors. Under the new plan, those would apply to NODA as well. For all those under the new plan, the registration fee would be $350, up from the current fee of $165. And the fine for violating street vendor code would be up to $500 instead of just $50 that it is right now.
It's finding a way to make sure that we control this, but like I said, I think we have to be measured with the calls to not really cut off that entrepreneurial spirit.
Seemingly unanimous support among council, not necessarily reflected in the community. That's led to a petition with hundreds of signatures working to stop any regulations. With that in mind, the council members say they're working on their promise to keep NOTA sounding like this, while also keeping it safe.
That was Julie Kay reporting. If approved, the program would be just the beginning. It could eventually expand to more parts of NOTA and even citywide. The council is expected to vote on that proposal June 23rd, with the earliest implementation in July.
After another round of disruptive weather, Porter Ridge and Sun Valley High Schools will hold their graduation ceremonies today. Union County Schools tell us they postponed them to make sure the graduates and their families and staff were safe. So Porter Ridge is going to be coming up at the top of the hour, 8 a.m. this morning, and then Sun Valley will take place at 8 o'clock tonight. The National Weather Service confirming a tornado touchdown near Lake Murray on Monday night in South Carolina. It was an EF1 with winds reaching 95 miles an hour. The tornado stayed on the ground for 6 minutes, traveling more than 6 miles. As of this morning, there are no reports of any injuries. Speaking about the weather, something that we are super excited about here. Make sure to tune in to our new show right here on WCNC Plus. Every night at 6:30, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich is going to be live to break down the weather moving across our area, go into detail that he just can't do in a typical newscast. You can catch it on WCNC Plus every night at 6:30.
And that's one of the advantages. The last tornado that we actually had a little bit closer to home, this Brattonsville tornado, this was just an EF0, 80 mile per hour winds. Brad was actively tracking this, saying, hey, I think this could be a potential tornado. So just to give you an example, Brad's tracking these things as severe weather's rolling through, because when that's happening, that's oftentimes where we're really starting to see storms spawn, especially coming up this week, not today, this week. We're gonna have a much better chance for storms heading into the evening, so definitely a great advantage here on WCNC Plus. Anytime you have a 40 to 50% chance for rain, we'll learn a little bit more about that in my Weather IQ this hour. That's where you're going to have a higher likelihood for storms, and I don't think that's really going to happen today. So we're going to go through all of our storm chances over the next 68 hours. That's as far as this model goes out. Here's 1 o'clock, a whole lot of nothing. You do see a couple of green blobs, blips pop up. I think that's really translating over to that you may have some darker cloud bottoms. If it's going to rain, I think it's really from a line from Albemarle, Wadesboro, further off towards the east. That's where we're seeing most of this activity. Chance for a thunderstorm right around sunset through that point. I think, Charlotte, you are storm free for just one day, because by tomorrow, look what happens. I think during the afternoon, we have isolated storms. So about 1-2 storms out here on the map. They'll burn themselves out, exhaust themselves after a certain duration, usually up to about 45 minutes or so. And then we'll start to see new ones form. However, during your Thursday evening, I'm seeing a lot more activity. So often what happens with these is one pops up, and once it starts to weaken, the cool air that forms from that rain will start to flow out, and then a new one will form. And then this slow process just turns into a nebulous of all these storms intertwining one another. I think that's what happens on Thursday evening, and that could continue through the overnight as well. So we're going to see a decaying system coming from the southwest that could keep some wet conditions to start off your Friday morning, and even a little bit of fog to begin the day as well. Moving forward, we do it all over again. Isolated storms going to be a possibility during the middle of the afternoon on Friday. I think there's a slightly better chance for rain this time in the mountains, and then a lot more activity heading into the evening hours. So that's one thing I'm really seeing as a trend heading into the weekend. This weekend, all in all, not too bad. Each day has a 40 to 50% chance that it's going to rain, but most likely that's after 2 o'clock. So my advice for you is plan to do everything before 2 o'clock, but then everything after that's going to be bonus. Most likely, most of the rain that you see on your Saturday and or Sunday will be during the evening hours. So you might be able to be fine all afternoon long, just before 2 to be safe. Our jet stream pattern is also going to change. Notice this big blob that pops down to the south? we're looking at our potential first heat wave of 2025. Whenever you have this type of setup, this is a big time ridge, that leads to well above average like temperatures. We're already, our 6 to 10 day outlook is trending for us to be way above normal. So for our Guy Roofing or our 7-day forecast, no longer Guy Roofing, we have 86 degrees for your Thursday and Friday, back up to 88 degrees, and then we'll be back to the upper 80s again on Tuesday. But the further you go into the forecast, I'm looking at the lower to even the mid-90s the end of next week. So 86 actually might be mild compared to a potential high of 95 that we'd have on day 10 of the forecast. So just keep that in mind and enjoy the only one day that doesn't have a chance for a storm, at least for Charlotte. Let's head over to Majestic Storm to see what is going on in our traffic world. How are you doing?
Good morning. Doing all right this morning. We are definitely seeing some backups as people are getting ready to head out. It is 7:20 right now. It's a nice start to the morning. Here's I-77. We have seen a few backups. No accidents, though, at this time for I-77. We do have some, though, otherwise. This one here is slowing people's morning commute down. It's right here on Independence at exit 244. That's Television Place. You can see pockets of red and orange just indicating that cars are moving slowly. They're still moving, just rather slowly this morning. Another crash here. It's on Graham Street and Trade Street in the Uptown area. And this still ongoing, eastbound lanes being impacted here. It's in Rockwell. You can see it as we zoom it on in, and it's also impacting Highway 52 between Gold Hill Ave and Cross Street. All of this orange here is indicating where fog has developed. A lot of it is patchy, but you may even see some very dense fog. Look at Salisbury right now. I mean, you're really going to have a hard time seeing once you head out the door, so slow down, drive for the conditions, because not everyone is dealing with that fog. I-77, you can see a little bit of a slowdown from Cornelius out towards Huntersville, but again, no accidents and just what we typically expect for this time of the day. Let's take a quick look at those drive times. You can see if you're coming in from Matthews, about 25 minutes to get you there. Remember, we do have a little bit of a slowdown on Independence right now, and Belmont about 26. We'll have another update for you coming up in just a few. Ben.
All right, Majestic, thanks. The Checkers are going to host Game 1 of the Calder Cup Finals Friday night, and WCNC Charlotte is going to be your home for the finals as the Checkers take on the Abbotsford Canucks. You can watch the game on our 36.2 channel. That's our sub-channel. It's going to be listed in your TV guide as the True Crime Network.
Trending this morning, wedding bells are ringing for Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, but you may not have heard them. Rodgers confirmed yesterday that he is married. He says the wedding happened a couple of months ago, but he didn't go into any further details. The quarterback first revealed his relationship with a woman named Brittany in December of last year. Otherwise, he has kept that relationship private. Well, 1 year from today, the 2026 FIFA World Cup will kick off in Mexico City. It's going to be the start of 104 matches across 16 host cities in 3 countries.
And since it is so spread out, each host city will get their own theme song, put their distinctive stamp on the World Cup. Take a look and a listen to what Dallas came up with. You can hear some of that Texas flair in the music created by a Grammy Award-winning Texas music producer. We are not Grammy Award-winning producers.
Not even close.
From Texas, but if we were, and we had to make a theme song for our World Cup, we decided we would do it with the help of our producer Reese, and yes, AI. Here's what they would sound like. We're going to each have one. And we submitted basically just a description of what we thought would be a cool...
Something to kind of reflect us and theme music.
So we'll start with mine. Take a listen.
One game we play is one heart, one flame under the sun.
Jam.
I'm still seeing those big cutouts with like your head and people in the stands.
I want to go to a beach.
I want a mojito after listening to that.
All right, here's the next one. Listen close.
I see like slow motion of the players, like, you know, winning and like, you know, relief on their face, all playing out. Yes, I can see it.
We're winning.
Yeah.
All right, last, certainly not least. No, no, no.
See, now I seem so intense compared to you guys.
Imagine that.
Or is that
Really?
now I'm really. I guess not. Huh.
Oh, well.
Oh, we had
maybe coming up in our.
We'll get it for you.
We did.
It's intense.
It's very intense.
We just made Majestics as well, so that'll be our tease.
Okay.
Yeah, no, maybe the world wasn't ready for Chris's World Cup theme song. I guess clearly here on WCNC Plus.
Right,
but yours are awesome. I loved yours.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let's take a quick break as we take a live look right now over Uptown. Chris is going to join us once again. He won't have his theme music, but he will have his forecast for this Wednesday. Plus, Majestic will have a check of your Wednesday morning commute. And we're back with the headlines at 7:30 right here, only on WCNC Plus.
Well, good day, everybody. So we have some dense fog across the area. There's one spot that we've been really keeping an eye on. That's Salisbury, now down to a goose egg. So dangerous drives right here in parts of Rowan County. Keep that in mind. That should be burning off in the next hour or so. Current temperatures down to 69 degrees for Charlotte, 67 in Monroe. That's a nice starting point. That's going to allow us to easily get into the mid 80s to the upper 80s with our real field pretty close to that 90-degree point. Likely we're staying dry today. Slightest chance for a shower heading into the evening, but most likely dry for the day. Now going forward, I think it's especially the evening hours that we have the highest storm potential, especially on Thursday and Friday heading through the weekend. Temperatures not ranging too much, really an 86 to 88 degree high over the next 7 days. Majestic, what's going on this morning for our morning commute?
All right, good morning, everyone. It is our Wednesday and things are looking just fine. Beautiful start to the day. Area roadways are looking quite typical for this time of the day. It is 7:27. If you're coming in from Matthews, it's going to take you about 26 minutes to get you there. Here's a live look outside I-77 southbound lanes. They are starting to pick up. No current accident there. We just have a lot of people heading in the same direction. One ongoing wreck, it's in the Uptown area, Graham Street and Trade Street, and then out towards Rockwell. Good morning to you. Still following that one. Watch for pockets of dense fog as well.
Thanks for streaming live on WCNC Plus at 7:30. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Ben Thompson. 3 kids recovering this morning after they were hit by a car while selling lemonade at a home in Burke County. And this morning we're learning the driver who hit them will not be charged, but a different driver will be.
WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood spoke with the close-knit community, many who tell us their only concern is the children.
We thought all 3 of them were dead.
Shock and terror for the families of 3 Morganton kids hit by a car while trying to sell lemonade in their neighborhood.
It's been very emotional. I was bawling my eyes out.
Investigators say the driver veered off the road and hit the kids while trying to avoid another driver that entered the road improperly. Get a look at what's left of the post from the neighborhood sign after that car came into this yard and slammed into it. Those kids right here working to sell lemonade, that sign now sat to the side.
They're very traumatized, yes ma'am. It's very harsh. The parents should not to see nothing like that.
The driver that hit the kids is not facing charges. Instead, investigators say the other driver was charged with a misdemeanor for failing to yield and given a citation.
Frustrated with the lady that hit my grandbaby, of course. I mean, it's a natural thing, but I've got calmed down and, I've just prayed about it.
Kaylin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
We can tell you that one of those 3 kids is already home this morning recovering. 2 others are still in the hospital. 7:31 now, turning back to your forecast. And Chris Mulcahy, today, you say today's your pick of the week, but it's not because it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of business as usual, but it's the one day that doesn't for sure have at least a scattered thunderstorm chance. So that's why it's the pick of the week. There's also one other factor, though. It's a little less humid. And I know that this seems like I'm literally splitting hairs, but I am. That we're talking about really oppressive, muggy air. And then by next week, we could even be in the lower to the mid 90s. So the upper 80s today with sticky air instead of a muggy air. Yeah, I think that's pick of the week worthy. And our Dallas camera also clearing out a lot of that cloud cover. We could not see any of these trees down below. Now we can, so that shows that a lot of it's burning off, but we need to do it a little bit quicker. Right now, it's drivable around Shelby and Cleveland County. It is not drivable in some areas in Salisbury, down to a 0, so a dangerously low visibility right now across Rowan County, and that will include I-85. Keep that in mind from China Grove up to Salisbury. Not a good situation. Now it's over the next hour. Things are vastly going to improve by 8:30 here on WCNC Plus. I guarantee that those numbers will be back above 1. And our current temperatures, 63 degrees in Hickory and 51 degrees in Boone. We had a front that pushed through the area, or should I say we have a front because it's actively over us right now. Lower 60s though because of it. If this was a big bad cold front, I'm talking about a strong guy, these would be in the 50s and likely in the 40s for the Boone area, and I would be for sure calling this my pick of the week. Also, look at that beautiful blue sky. So enjoy what I think is the best day of the week for those few small reasons. It's still going to be humid enough for 86 to feel like 89 degrees though, and that 20%, I would just disregard that guy. Likely staying dry for most of us, but there is a chance further off towards the east. So this general blue line is just a chance for thunderstorms. You see a few of these little green blips here. I think likely that's just going to translate over to a darker cloud, and then seeing a little bit more prevalence of some of these showers over in Wadesboro and Rockingham. So right over here is the only chance I think you will have some developing storms. So we're not completely out of the woods. We do cover 22 counties here. So Anson, Chesterfield, Richmond County. I'm even going to throw you in the mix. Stanley County. They're the ones that really have a chance for those isolated scattered thunderstorms. Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. This seems like I was being lazy. It's going to be 86, 87, and 88 over the next 7 days. Just shows that we don't have a lot of changes. Also, our rain chances pretty much each and every one is the same. I think every day after 2 o'clock, you're going to have a potential for an isolated thunderstorm. But most of these chances, especially Thursday through Sunday, the most coverage of any storm is going to be during the evening hours. Very slow moving guys where at any given point somewhere in an area could pick up an inch of rain. So welcome to a typical June-like forecast over the next 7 days. Hopefully it's a typical Wednesday morning traffic wise. I know just who to ask. Majestic?
All right, well, I think, sure, we can go typical. Nothing too extreme. We'll take it. I've seen better, but I've also seen worse. Here's a live look outside. I-77. Good morning, everyone. Waking up. Maybe you're heading off to work, heading out to get those errands done before that heat cranks up, or maybe you're waking your kids and they're heading off to summer camp today. It's going to be a great day. We're not seeing any significant slowdowns there on I-77. Even as we zoom it on in, a couple of accidents I want to let you know about. This one here is in the Uptown area. You can see that orange that's starting to build, meaning just slow traffic. It's between Graham Street and Trade Street. Just off to the west of it, a new incident just popped up. It's on Queen City Drive near Gateway Boulevard. I'll keep a close eye on that for you to see if we do have any bigger concerns with that. Ultimately, I want to show you where we are dealing with the worst fog right now. It's shaded in this area of orange, definitely out towards Salisbury, so make sure you're taking it easy as you may encounter some areas of dense fog. All right, I-77 seeing our typical slowdowns, but no accidents. So right now our interstates are all looking okay. No big concerns at this current time. Ben.
Thanks. We are learning some new details this morning about the deaths of 2 people at a Northeast Charlotte hotel.
A 36-year-old woman and a 1-year-old were found dead. WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards is live this morning. And Destiny, we actually looked through that CMPD police report to get some answers.
That's right. At this time, police don't suspect there was any foul play, but the circumstances around these deaths are definitely raising questions about the oversight at this hotel, like who was looking after this family and why it took so long for anyone to notice something was wrong. CMPD says 36-year-old Shannon Solomon and a 1-year-old boy were found dead on Friday inside a room at the Baymont Hotel on Equipment Drive. The hotel now operates as a substance abuse recovery center, but it was previously used to house families through a city-backed program run by Heal Charlotte. That lease ended in April. Since then, a new program called HELP has taken over. Its director, Cedric Dean, claims some former tenants never vacated, and he even tried to offer money for them to leave. According to the police report, when he tried to remove a tenant himself, he was arrested.
The date that the city chose to put me in jail, that's the day that they failed this family.
Some people say they heard a child crying, but if we're not supposed to pay attention to this room and leave these rooms alone because they were in the Heal Charlotte program, and we don't want to cause them any more grief, we kind of pretty much, we've been giving them their space.
The HELP program staff eventually broke policy to check on the room, and that's when they found the bodies. But legal experts say landlords still have to follow the court process to enter a tenant's space, even if there are safety concerns. And as of this morning, the HELP program staff say no one from that Heal Charlotte program is staying at the hotel anymore. CMPD is still continuing to investigate, but again, at this time, they don't believe anyone else was involved. Ben, Lisa.
So, Destiny, you say that none of those residents under the HEAL program are there now, but do we know how many families were still living there when the lease ended for HEAL Charlotte?
Yeah, we do know that there were about 50 families still living at the Baymont Hotel when that lease again ended in April. Some of them stayed there. Some of these families stayed there independently on their own. Some moved into rental housing, and others received support from some city-backed programs, some like Crisis Assistance Ministry, as well as Housing Collaborative.
All right, Destiny Richards, for that. Thank you so much for that report.
Well, a new program up in the Asheville area hopes to help people whose homes were damaged by Helene. The Reduce to Rebuild program will help in planning and permitting process for folks repairing some of their homes. It runs to the end of this year. Eligible homes will get a 50% reduction of some of those inspection fees. In the meantime, small businesses and their recovery efforts are also underway after Hurricane Helene. During last night's live impact news stream, only right here on WCNC Plus, we spoke with David Jackson. Now, he's the president of the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce. He says state lawmakers should pull the Hurricane Helene recovery legislation out of the budget process, adding small businesses cannot wait for months while the House and Senate come together on their budget plan and debate it. He also says while businesses are getting back on the track, they still have a long way to go. Here is part of that interview.
I would love to give you the Chamber of Commerce answer and say, yeah, we're fine, we're good, and we're not.
We're just not. That statistic that Governor Stein mentioned comes from the Small Business Administration, and yes, 40% of businesses that have been involved in a disaster of this magnitude do limp along for a while and ultimately find that the circumstances are insurmountable. We are seeing that in Watauga County. We're seeing that in Avery County, Ashe County, and all throughout the western North Carolina region. That is a part of reality. Part of that reality is the timing of how aid is getting to people. The state of North Carolina has never been accused of getting money out the door as quickly as their constituents need it. And that's across all administrations. That's not a criticism. That is a fact, right? So what we are hoping is that through the work of Grow NC, through the work of what has mostly been, again, a bipartisan cooperation on this particular issue, that the House and Senate can see that timing is everything. That grant program that I mentioned earlier, it's again a revenue, tied to lost revenue, and that's where we're seeing those business closures coming from now. It's one thing to get your doors open again. What you do not get to rebuild in the time frame that we're in currently is the savings that you had to expend back in October, November when the doors were closed. I'll say this to nonprofits that are out there, whether it's the Boone Area Chamber Foundation, whether it's Samaritan's Purse, Wine to Water, some of these other organizations that have been so helpful. The nonprofits have really carried the direct grant load for this disaster at this point. That's not to say that state partners, especially in government, aren't doing what they can, and there's obvious coordination with FEMA that has gotten very complicated lately, but that is all still very bureaucratic in nature and is not necessarily trickling down to the people that need it fast enough. People have been very busy for the last 8+ months, repairing, rejuvenating the area. Now that we are in the prime season for Boone, the outdoor economy always treats us well. And those river outfitters, those folks that guide you on the tubing trips, hiking guides, all of that, they have been incredibly busy making sure that those experiences are available. So whether that's all the way down in Cherokee on up to Sparta, those opportunities exist, and we want to make sure that people know that not only are tourism businesses open, but the rest of our economy is coming along quite well. Understanding too that there are always still some pockets of inconvenience here and there, but that's everywhere. We are on our way to healing, and really hope that this summer can be the bridge season that we really need it to be.
Now, we've been keeping an eye on some of your efforts with the chamber, what y'all have been doing. In part, looks like you're doing pretty regular surveys of small businesses just to kind of get a temperature of how they're feeling. Are they struggling? Do they feel like they might be struggling eventually? And then also just kind of making efforts, which we can talk a bit more about with this resilience grant, the disaster resilience. But how are the surveys going? What are you finding from all of this research?
I think we're optimistic now, and that we are starting to see some patterns of stability. And stability does not necessarily mean back to what things looked like at this time last year. But what it means is that the roller coaster that we were on December, January, February were not only the hurricanes impacts, but the cold winter that we had was great on the ski slopes, not necessarily so great for construction, for businesses getting some of those necessary repairs done. So as the spring has moved forward, we have seen businesses pretty much at an even keel, that down 20% seems to be the norm across retail, across some of the hospitality industries. That was kind of ending up in April. We're about to put out our May call to action now to see where things were, but the trends are moving in the right direction. That we're still seeing some of that I'll call it retail commerce down, but we are seeing visitor traffic start to improve, and we're seeing zip codes that are coming to the community come from farther away. So that means the messaging's getting out there. I think people are finding out, even from word of mouth, that their friends are coming to the high country. They're having a quality experience. They may still find some of those same places. Again, may take an extra second or two to get there, but they're still finding it to be the same welcome, warm place. And that is going to help us as we move into the summer see continued improvement in that.
So this summer, make sure you get up to the mountains, Boone, wherever it is, and help out those folks and spend some money. You can see that full conversation right now, right here on WCNC Plus.
All right, 7:44. All week long, our weather team has been telling you about isolated and scattered storms, but do you know the difference?
Do you? Because I'm not sure I did. I knew there was a difference, but I couldn't tell you what it is. So we are handing things over to meteorologist Chris Mulcahy to explain in this week's Weather IQ.
is one of the most asked weather questions. What's the difference between isolated and scattered rain showers? Well, let's raise that weather IQ. The percentages you see in our forecast and on the 7-day is actually called a POP, or probability of precipitation. It's how likely we're going to get measurable rain, or at least 1/100th of an inch in a given area during a specific time. But here's the key. POP isn't just a guess. It's actually a formula. POP equals confidence times area covered. So let's say we're 100% confident that it will rain, but only 20% of the area will see that. That's now a 20% chance for rain. That's why we call it isolated showers, where just a few spots may get wet. Now, if that jumps to 40%, it means the rain will be more prevalent and cover more of the area. That's when we call it scattered rain showers. 60% chance for rain. This usually means scattered showers are now becoming more likely than not. But let's visualize this one more time. You ready? This is Chrisville, divided into 5 sections. A 20% shower was isolated to only 1 Chris of 5. Then rain was scattered. Up to 40% of the Chris's got wet, but it was more likely they stayed dry. Now at 60%, more than half of the Chris's here are impacted. 80 to 100%, likely anyone would have gotten wet at some point during that day. Wishing you stayed dry and prepared no matter the chance for rain, I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy.
And speaking of the weather, make sure you check out our new show on WCNC Plus. We're very excited about it. Every night at 6:30, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich is going to be live to break down the weather moving across our area, go into a depth and detail that our meteorologists usually just can't go into in a typical news break because a shortage of time, commercial breaks. That's the beauty of WCNC Plus. By the way, the app, as you probably know at this point, free to download on your TV. 6:30 tonight.
All right, Chris and Majestic join us now. Very enlightening to understand scattered, isolated, not just the percentage, but depending on kind of our area.
And just a quick poll. Did you have rain or storms at your house yesterday?
Not yesterday.
Not yesterday.
I don't think so.
And I live north of y'all, and I didn't have storms. Meanwhile, I have friends that lived up in Iredell County.
Right.
It poured for 2 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's a good example of what sometimes a 20 to 40% coverage means.
Right.
So that 20%, you're like, oh, no, we're good. And now it's kind of a law of averages. We do that for Ben's pool day forecast all the time.
Very important.
So, and this coming forecast is a lot of 40s that you're going to see, a lot of 40%. So what I usually say is it's also sometimes the best time that before 2 o'clock all these days you have pretty much a 0 chance for rain.
Okay.
Then after that, it starts to develop. So there's a lot of different layers to this, and we'll jump right into it. So I only want to talk about rain chances because that's what our weather IQ is about. Today is a 0, and then we have a 40 to 50% chance going forward. And being honest with you, I strongly dislike, I didn't want to use the HATE word. I strongly dislike using 50% because there's a lot of jokes about our profession and flipping coins because that's kind of what this is. But I literally do think on Friday, Sunday, and Monday that it's half of our area that sees these. And truly, I should be showing you some of the nighttime rain chances because I think we have a better chance for rain during the evenings compared to what we have during the afternoons going forward. So our rainfall chances, all those numbers, I always translate this over to what the actual word is. So I built this. This is automatic data that's either going to take that 20, 40, 60, and change it over to a word. So just know whenever you see a scattered on this graphic, so raising your weather IQ and some of the things that I show you each and every day, this is representing that 40 to 50% coverage area of those storms. Today, we're pretty much a 0 to a 10. It's only right in this area, right around Wadesboro, as this backdoor front, that just means a front that's coming from the opposite direction, is going to provide a chance for a few showers and storms. Not a lot bubbling up, but from Albemarle down to Wadesboro to the east, that's our best chance, and it'll try to work its way a little bit further off towards the west, but I think it's going to be unsuccessful, and if it does, that would be much deeper into the evening. And then this front eventually is going to die out, and that leads us to still another hot and humid day heading into tomorrow. So let's roll into your Thursday. Here's that storm potential again. It really starts to die off. By 2 o'clock, there's that time again. 2 o'clock is where we have our first sign of a storm. I think your best chance for storms in general for your Thursday, look what happens by the evening. Oh, wow, these really start to take over. That's pretty scattered. And then eventually it actually could become widespread through the early morning hours where I think we have a decaying system that works in. A lot of times this time of year, you might have a storm system to the west, southwest, northwest, either direction west of us that'll still keep going on its forward energy. And sometimes it can make its way past the mountains, giving us an overnight rain chance. I think we have that heading into Friday morning. We have that on Saturday morning as well. Same thing, rinse and repeat the forecast. Notice 2 o'clock, better chance for rain up in the mountains, but then we have an isolated shower. Then these become more scattered and a little bit more widespread heading into the evening. So we're using a lot of those terms, but especially late on Friday evening is where I think we have that best potential. Current temperatures right now, right around 69 degrees in Charlotte, 67 in Monroe, 70 degrees in Lancaster. Look at that. Gotta love those Carolina blues across the distance. But we are trending in a much warmer direction after the 7-day forecast. I have a range of 86 to 88 degrees in the near term, so it's gonna be a hot Father's Day. But if you have any plans in the morning, say, I'm going golfing and super excited. Thank you for the gift, Kimmy. I really do appreciate it. On Sunday morning, I should be fine if I have an earlier tee time. But then once you get to about 2 o'clock, not saying that you for sure are going to see a storm, it just becomes more and more likely the closer that you get to the evening that storms are going to be in the area. So just use that as a general rule to have any weekend plans. And the same pattern lasts heading into next week. That could jeopardize the nights coming back into town. But by the middle to late next week, I'm talking about Wednesday through Thursday to Friday, we could be in the lower to even the mid 90s. So a big time shift in those temperatures. Also, as I just saw, Majestic, a big time shift in our traffic report.
That's exactly right. I want you to listen up, especially if you take I-85 northbound. Take a look at your TV screen. This is a live camera of what's going on. You can see numerous emergency responders are there and traffic is shifted over. 2 lanes right now are completely blocked right here on I-85. Traffic is still moving. It's just moving very slowly. Still learning to see what exactly is going on and why there are so many emergency responders there on scene. So there's our live camera look of exactly what's going on. Again, this is I-85 northbound. Right now, 2 lanes are completely blocked. Want to put this into perspective even more. Still sticking with I-85, where we actually have 2 ongoing accidents. This is the one that I just showed you right here. It's between Glenwood Drive, that's exit 35, and the Brookshire Boulevard. So be mindful of this. Traffic is able to move through. It's just moving very slowly. Right now, they're saying delays are at 20 minutes. In addition to that, another ongoing accident right there, still adding into that backup already. It's on Queen City Drive near Gateway Boulevard. So again, it is a mess right now on I-85 northbound. We'll keep a close eye on that. I'll continue to give you those updates as we learn more on what's currently going on there. If you're heading towards the uptown area, still seeing those slowdowns on Graham Street and Trade Street because of that one ongoing accident. And then off to the northeast, you can still see where that fog is really still out there. So make sure you're driving with caution as visibility may be limited at times. We'll have another check on that ongoing crash on I-85 northbound coming up in just a few minutes. Lisa.
All right, Majestic, that sounds good. 7:52 now, and a new warning from doctors about the rising risk of skin cancer. Experts say at least 50% of Americans will be diagnosed before the age of 40.
Linda Beccaro breaks down what people should know heading into summer.
It allows us to see pigmented spots that we cannot see with the naked eye.
Using black light, Dr. Human Khorasani is a dermatologic surgeon looking for potential trouble spots in his 31-year-old patient, Emily Haley.
500,000 Americans under age of 40 will have skin cancer,
including Emily. Dr. Khorasani diagnosed her with basal cell carcinoma in January.
It looked like a zit that just wasn't going away.
Although melanoma gets a lot of press because it's most dangerous, the most common one is basal cell carcinoma by far.
Emily shared this photo. The red circle marks the carcinoma on her forehead. She says she was surprised because with parents who had skin cancer, she often wore hats and applied sunscreen.
Turns me for a second.
For lesions on the face, Dr. Khorasani, who has a private practice in the Flatiron section of Manhattan, says there are new options to minimize scarring.
We conducted a large clinical trial. It was double-blinded, where patients had skin Mohs surgery on their forehead, and we injected half of those patients with Botox to immobilize the muscle. Patients that received Botox had much better scar outcome.
To detect melanoma, look for the ABCs of potential cancer. A for asymmetry, border irregularity, color variation, a diameter of more than 6 millimeters, or evolving in size, shape, or color. And to help protect your skin, use sunscreen with zinc or titanium.
You don't need to have super high SPF. Anything over 30 is okay. The most important thing is reapplication. So if you're outside and running or swimming, reapply every 30 minutes. If you're just walking around, every 2 hours is okay.
I'm learning how to be a hat girly now. I'm also learning to wear rash guards outside anytime at the pool or beach.
And when you can, remember to try and limit your exposure outdoors between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. when the sun's rays are at their strongest.
Linda Baquero with that report. Right now, we are going to take a quick break, but you keep it right here on WCNC Plus. We're going to have another update on the weather and traffic, including an update on that situation on Interstate 85. Majestic will give us the latest on that. And we'll be back with more of the day's top headlines starting at 8.
All right, everyone, waking up this morning, we do have a big accident I want to let you know about. This is what's ongoing right now. I-85 and northbound lanes. Right now, 2 lanes are currently blocked. You can see all the emergency responders that are there on scene. Cars are still able to get through, but they're moving rather slowly. So a few things that you're going to want to consider. This is what it looks like, perspective, as we're looking at our live traffic map. All of this red is indicating where that slowdown is. It's on Glenwood Drive, right where the accident is ongoing, and at Brookshire Boulevard. So an alternate route would be taking Freedom Drive to get around this. If not, it's going to take an extra 20 minutes if you are taking I-85 northbound. You can see how backed up that is. That is the biggest crash there. Another one that's adding on to this, it's an incident on Queen City Drive near Gateway Boulevard. So again, not helping with this incident. Want to give you another look of what's currently going on. This is I-85, those northbound lanes being impacted by this accident. As we learn more, we'll be sure to let you know on WCNC Plus. Chris.
Thanks a lot, Majestic. Not a lot to talk about storm-wise today. We have 88 degrees for the afternoon, 86 to 88 for the rest of the week, a 40 to 50% chance for rain pretty much each and every day. Better chances for the evening, certainly Thursday through Sunday. Father's Day, I think we're dry for the first half before storms start to roll in. We are live streaming right now on WCNC Plus. We hope to see you there very soon.
You are streaming live right now at 8 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington. We have some breaking news on the roads. We want to get right to Majestic Storm for a check on the morning commute and the situation on I-85 northbound.
All right, good morning, everyone. Here's a live look. It's on Glenwood Drive where this accident is ongoing. This is going to impact your morning commute if you take I-85 northbound. Right now, we have 2 lanes that are completely blocked off because of this ongoing accident. You can see emergency responders are on scene. Traffic is flowing. It's just moving rather slowly. So let's break this down for you. I want to zoom it into exactly where this accident is. Again, I-85 northbound between Glenwood Drive and Brookshire Boulevard. Right now, delays are at about 20 minutes. All of that backup, all of the reds indicating that. So if you don't want to wait, I would suggest getting off of I-85 here, take Bradford over towards Hoskins, and then get back onto I-85. Or then as you head over towards Bradford, if you want to just take Glenwood Drive, you can also do that. Again, it is moving. It's just moving rather slowly with those backups that are delayed at about 20 minutes right now. Here's another look of what exactly is going on. We know that there is a crash. Multiple emergency responders are on scene. We don't exactly know what happened, but we know those backups are really starting to build there. Once we do learn more, we'll let you know. But this is the biggest accident that's happening right now with your traffic update.
All right, Majestic, thanks so much. Well, this morning we're getting a new video out of Los Angeles where you can see police confronting protesters overnight. This morning, the Marines are arriving in the city to protect law enforcement officers as they prepare for the 6th straight day of those anti-ICE protests. This comes as a North Carolina bill is just 1 signature away from becoming law.
Now, it would force sheriffs across the state to work with federal immigration agents. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane now live with a closer look at what it changes. And Richard, that bill now headed to the governor's desk.
That is absolutely correct. Good morning to you, Ben. Good morning, Lisa. Good Wednesday morning, everyone. It's on the governor's desk, and if he signs it, it'll become law. Now, let's take a look at the bill we're talking about that is supposed to strengthen the tie between our local sheriff's department as well as ICE as far as communication and following the way they handle when they pick up an immigrant. The state Senate has passed House Bill 318 and it's now on Stein's desk. The bill, called the Criminal Illegal Alien Enforcement Act, would require county sheriffs statewide to work more closely with federal immigration officials. This bill aims to strengthen previous immigration enforcement by now mandating sheriffs notify ICE before releasing individuals from jail. At least 2 hours they have to do that now and wait before they release that individual. It also addresses concern that some counties were not fully cooperating with ICE, like Mecklenburg County. Some opponents of the bill say it will lead to more racial profiling as well as people living in fear.
This bill does not make anybody safe. In fact, it really hinders people's ability to trust our judicial system, because people who are simply charged and not convicted of a crime will not have due process.
Some of the folks that they are in constant communication with are now living in a pretty much constant state of fear. They're like paralyzed and afraid to go out, afraid to go to work. Some of their children who are students in our Charlotte Mecklenburg schools are afraid to go to school.
And of course, that bill is on the governor's desk. He has 3 options. He can sign it and it becomes law automatically, or it will become a law. He can veto that bill, and then you know the process of if there's enough votes to override it, or he can just do nothing and it will become a law after 10 days of no action from the governor. Anyway, if it becomes a law, it'll go into effect on the 1st of October. Guys.
All right, so how does that affect Gary McFadden, the sheriff here in Mecklenburg County?
Yeah, McFadden says that he will follow any laws on the books as long as, like for instance, in this particular bill, he says he'll continue to notify ICE agents, and that 2-hour release, he said he would follow that as long as they come and pick up those detainees. He says if they don't, He'll release them if they don't show up within that time frame. He also says it's got to be importantly spelled out who has the legal authority to hold someone without a writ, without a warrant, and that's something he's always been holding on to. Of course, these are some details we're going to have to speak to him about, especially if the governor signs this bill or if it becomes a law by him waiting 10 days without there being a veto. Something we're going to have to look into.
I should say that this has been going back, this sort of tension is not new.
Right.
This has been going back probably 20 years. They had the 287G program back in the day that was not the same thing, but argued some of the same principles, and that is whether local law enforcement should be in the business of doing this when they're not just, regardless of how you feel on this issue, they're not just being rebellious to be rebellious. Local law enforcement will often tell you that they feel uncomfortable with this because they want people in the community to feel comfortable with them coming forward when it comes to violent crimes and things like that.
Because this is their turf, like this is their jurisdiction.
And so this is sort of just the latest chapter in what's been ongoing for literally years now. All right, Richard Devane reporting live for us there in Uptown. Gorgeous shot, by the way. Love that skyline. Richard, thank you.
All right, 8:06 now. Let's turn things over to Chris to find out more about our forecast for this Wednesday.
I just was about to say the same thing. Richard Shaw is kind of putting the Dallas cam to shame. Look at those Carolina Blues. Richard and the skyline looking great right now. Dallas 1,450 feet up, still picking up on a little bit of that cloud cover off into the distance. Much better shot, as you can see here in Monroe on top of the Government Center. We're up to 71 degrees in Charlotte, 73 in Chirac, 72 around the Monroe area. It's going to be a breathtakingly gorgeous day. Our visibilities are doing better. We're still below a mile in Shelby and parts of Cleveland County, and we still have this bullseye right around Salisbury, Rockingham. You're down to about a 1 to 2 mile visibility. That's drivable. It's down to the quarter mile that really starts to get dangerous. At one point, Salisbury was at a 0 about 30 minutes ago. I think that's going to be back above 1, I would say, in the next 30 minutes or so. Our playground forecast looking pretty good as well. We're looking at temperatures to reach that 80-degree point by the end of the morning, and then we'll level out in the mid-80s by the middle of the afternoon, eventually reaching the upper 80s for some locations. I think we have a sunnier start, whereas we pick up more clouds later on in the afternoon, so enjoy yourself. Hopefully we have no skid knees and no hot slides for your Wednesday if you're going to the playground. Our mountain forecast, this is nice, seriously. 75 degrees isn't going to be overly humid up here in the mountains for Avery, Watauga, and Ashe County, so that's really the best part of the forecast. 87, not too bad around Lenore. It's not super sticky here either. This is a little bit more comfortable air compared to what we have down towards the south. 87 degrees right around Maiden. Pinpointing right about 88 degrees, so a very uniform temperature from Statesville down to Charlotte, and we're going to be rocking the same really down towards the south as well. I think there could be a couple areas close to that 90-degree point, but as we mentioned earlier, it's the pick of the week, and these days are a little bit tougher because if you look at my 7-day, and I'll show you that here in a moment, there's not a big difference temperature-wise and really per day to day, but there's a big reason why I chose today. Number one, it's a little less humid. Now, this looks ridiculous with me saying this, 68 compared to 70 degrees, but because of that, we actually have a lower rain chance. But truly, I think our muggy meter is going to dive down to the lower to the mid-60s. This puts us to feel just sticky instead of overly humid and muggy, as you can see is going to change by tomorrow. And our rain chances, boom. This is the only day that Charlotte doesn't have a definitive scattered potential for rain heading into the evening hours. There's the slightest outside chance that maybe you have one later on this evening, but likely we are staying dry. So that's why today was an easy choice for my pick of the week. Going forward, 86 to, I would say, 89 is going to be our temperature range. We'll have a chance for showers and storms. General rule, Thursday through the weekend, before 2 o'clock. If you do anything before 2 o'clock, you most likely, keywords, most likely will be rain free. So that's how you have to kind of plan things. And as you continue hour by hour closer to the transition into the evening hours, that's about 5 to 7. That's where you're going to have, I think, the best chance for rain. And that includes Thursday, Friday, and both days, Saturday, Sunday, including this Father's Day. Take care and happy Father's Day, or at least on the early side for all the dads out there.
Thanks, Chris. The city of Charlotte is setting new goals to become a cleaner, greener place to live with a big focus on climate and energy.
This morning, we are joined here on WCNC Plus by Heather Bullock with the city of Charlotte to talk about what this means for you, your family, and your neighborhood. Heather, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. This is all part of what's called the Strategic Energy Action Plan Plus. So break this down. We know the City Council just passed this. What is it? What are some of these goals?
Yeah, so we have updated our Strategic Energy Action Plan. We call it the Strategic Energy Action Plan Plus. And basically, we originally adopted our Strategic Energy Action Plan in 2018, but as we build plans, we want to make sure that we are still building towards the future. And so we wanted to take a look at our plan and see, gauge our progress and make sure that we're integrating our recent strategic plans like our comprehensive plan and our strategic mobility plan and others to make sure that we're integrating all these great, really strategic plans and moving together. And so we are doing that. We added what we call a climate risk assessment, which basically let us know what our biggest risks are in terms of climate change. And so we found that our biggest risk is really extreme heat. And so we found that our biggest change here from the 1960 to 1990 timeframe to now, we've seen a 300% increase in high heat days. And so that is something that we are really looking at how to combat. We are also looking at updating our focus areas. So in the past, we had looked at, and we are still keeping a strong focus on buildings and transportation and energy generation, but we're also including a new focus area because we really listen to our community. And even though it is the Strategic Energy Action Plan, our community really cares about reducing waste and reducing, water waste.
So, Heather, you talked about how this builds on the previous plan, and you talked about those high heat days. That sounds like a lot more hot days.
I know, it's not just our imagination.
Right. I'm hearing you say that. I'm also thinking about just how much the city is growing. Is any of that taken into account, just how rapidly, the population of the Charlotte Metro is increasing when you think about this and the energy?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have we've also added a renewable energy goal. And so before we did not have any goals around renewable energy for our community, but we've added a 600 megawatt renewable energy goal. And so the way that we are asking the community to tackle that is this month we are launching Solarize Charlotte Mecklenburg in partnership with Mecklenburg County and the town of Davidson. And so anyone in Mecklenburg County can participate in this program. And it's what it really is a group purchasing campaign. And so the more people participate, the more the price of the solar and storage, if you would like to have battery storage or energy storage at your home, the price comes down. And so what that means is you have more distributed energy, and that then brings the peak load for Duke Energy down, which benefits everyone.
Heather, bring this down for the folks listening right now on WCNC Plus having breakfast. Bring this down to a family level for the mom at home right now, juggling kids and a mortgage and a job right now. Why is something like this important?
Yeah, so I am that mom. I have two school-age kids and a job, and so I totally understand that. And the reason that it's really important to me is for them and for the children that I hope one day will have. It's really about clean air and clean water and a better future for all of us. And, I just really want us all to lean into what we can do in each of our individual spots. So one of the things that I talk about is around the different parts of your life. So what can the community do? What can each of us do in the three parts of our lives? What can we do at home? What can we do at work? And what can we do in our community? So I think about what can you do at work? So the city of Charlotte has a program called Power Down the Crown, which is basically what we call a voluntary benchmarking program. And so it's similar to how a car has a miles per gallon, so how efficient a car is. Buildings also have that. It's called basically the energy usage per square foot, and so we put that energy efficiency of the building or a dashboard and help everyone bring their energy efficiency down. So encouraging your business, or if you're a business owner, to come with us and benchmark your building energy usage. And then in your community, so volunteering to, clean up our streams, and, working with at the Innovation Barn with all the different circular economy nonprofits that work there. Also, at your home, do things like participating in Solarize. Do things like weatherization of your home, so sealing around your windows and doors. Those are all things that you can do to make a difference.
So it's about bringing down that energy usage level and just being mindful wherever you are, at home or at work. We saw briefly the thermostat there, so I know that's an issue for a lot of people.
Yes.
We're going into the summer months. Everybody likes it cool, cool, cool. But maybe if you think about not having it as cool, something along those lines.
That's right. And I know the plan promotes both private and public efforts, and there are examples of that already playing out.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that that we are working on is we have an 80 megawatt solar farm that we're working through a solar developer to build in Davidson County that's going to be offsetting our energy usage. That is awesome. We also, with our Power Down the Crown program, we've with the Charlotte Business Journal, we have a new sustainability award as a part of the Great Places to Work. And maybe you've heard of the Great Places to Work award. So we're excited to recognize businesses out there that are doing great work. So yeah.
All right, Heather Bullock, letting us know how the Queen City is getting cleaner and greener.
That's right.
Which is always a good thing. All right.
Heather, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Well, newly released body cam footage shows just moments after a deadly police pursuit crash. A CMPD supervisor questioned his officers about why they ignored his orders.
Take a listen.
Didn't y'all hear me say, hey, Ray, we don't need a 43 or what
CMPD released dozens of videos to WCNC Charlotte almost 3 years after our investigation found a fleeing driver drove into oncoming traffic and killed an innocent bystander. That driver pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and assault with a deadly weapon charges in December and is now serving a minimum 10-year sentence. Now that his criminal case at least is over, a court order authorized the release of that body cam footage to WCNC Charlotte's Nate Morabito.
It verifies what attorneys, a crash survivor, and the victim's family have suspected all along. All these years later, he is still seeking solutions.
We want to warn you, this video is difficult to watch, even more so when you consider CMPD officers are only supposed to give chase when a person has committed a life-threatening crime or is an immediate risk to the public. In this case, they tried to pull over a man for driving with a covered but still visible license plate. They ended up getting their guy, but not before he killed an innocent mother of two who was minding her own business. Is it worth it?
I see multiple parties that need to be held accountable.
These officers and the driver they were trying to pull over for a misdemeanor traffic stop.
Yeah, the person ran. He never should have done that. He broke the law. Put him in jail.
All faced a decision in this moment.
The disregard for people's lives is sad.
Their choice and the decisions that followed changed multiple lives.
There's a space missing.
And ended one.
It's important for people to know what happened to her.
Body camera footage outlines a coordinated effort by CMPD on the afternoon of January 3rd, 2022. Officers made multiple attempts to stop a man who on this day at this time showed no evidence of life-threatening behavior. In fact, early in their attempt to pull him over, footage shows he stopped.
Hey, stick your head!
But when an officer pulled a gun on him, he took off. At one point, he stopped again, and officers once again took out their guns.
Stop the car! Get out of the car!
He fled.
Oh, do it.
Not long after, another officer threw a trash can in front of him. All as he drove through a busy neighborhood where kids played nearby. Eventually, the driver sped up and crossed into oncoming traffic on Statesville Road during rush hour and crashed, killing Brittany Webb.
And she had 2 beautiful children, too.
And sending her friend Erin Norwood into a month-long coma.
Didn't y'all hear me say,
Aaron!
we don't need a 43 or Rico? What
Just moments after the collision, a supervisor questioned why officers ignored his orders. And another officer pulling up to the scene joked that the officers involved needed to get on the same page with their internal affairs statements.
Oh, they're dumb.
From those laughs to these tears.
I just told my daughter from my heart, I'm going to fight for you.
CMPD suspended the 2 officers in the weeks after the crash, and in a 2022 interview with WCNC Charlotte told us generally officers are disciplined when they violate the rules.
We're all human beings. It would be unrealistic to think that in these high-stress situations that the right decision is always made.
The public expects you all to make the right decision every time.
They do. They do. This is a difficult job.
The families of the victims have a pending lawsuit against the officers involved and the city of Charlotte. The lawsuit accuses the officers of spending their day following the driver and then disobeying their supervisor's order. In their answer to the complaint, the city and its officers admitted the supervisor told them over the radio to discontinue any pursuit, but denied the officers engaged in a high-speed pursuit that caused the accident. Nate Morabito, WCNC Charlotte.
All right, everyone, good Wednesday morning to you. We've been following this ongoing accident that has created some major backups on I-85 and northbound. Right now, we know that the scene has been cleared, but I still want to talk about it and show you this because we're still seeing slow-moving traffic. I-85 northbound on Glenwood Drive. We've had numerous emergency responders there, and we know that at least one person did get seriously injured by this. So let's put this into perspective. We'll change it on over to my live traffic maps. Again, this is where the crash is. You can still see the red there. Still seeing slow moving conditions, but again, cleared and traffic is moving currently. No more roads are blocked. So that is some good news for us. If you do want to just avoid all of that slow moving traffic, another option is taking Freedom over towards Bradford and then over towards Hoskins before you get back onto Brookshire Boulevard. So just be mindful of that. It is looking a little bit better, but definitely still congested here this morning on I-85 northbound at Glenwood. Another ongoing wreck I want to let you know about. There's a crash here on Idaho Drive and Roswell's Ferry Road, seeing that yellow indicating medium impacts. And this one here, it's an incident on Queen City Drive near Gateway Boulevard. We'll have another check on those roads coming up here shortly.
Thanks a lot, Majestic. So this is a big day. We don't have a chance for rain, but it's not just any pool day. It's a Ben approved pool day, and I didn't just put his face on here. I know this is a big deal, Ben, right?
I didn't know I had that much power.
No, you do. See, I'm the sandwich correspondent. We have Ben that is the pool day approver, and then Lisa will find you a really niche thing for you in the forecast as well. But it's going to be a good day, and I talked with Ben. I talked to my pool advisor here. The makings of a great pool day is a majority sunshine, limited rain chances or no rain chances, and that's exactly what we have today. Also, it has to be hot, and we're going to reach a high of 88 degrees, 85 by about 3 p.m., so enjoy your Ben approved pool day.
Also, first day of summer for CMS students, so I mean, it really is.
It really, see, we're doubling down.
That's
so
right.
It's a double approved pool day by Ben. We have 88 degrees for today. That's also one of the hottest ones we have here. We're just checking boxes, people, for you to be outside, go to the pool, or also a splash pad. That's always a good alternative if you're not able to go to a pool with the kids. But look at our temperature trend. I really wanted to focus in on the long term because this is going to be a big shift for us. We're talking about our first heat wave of the year. That's where we have multiple days at 90 degrees plus. We've only hit 90 once so far. We hit 91 last Saturday, but 88 to 86, back to 88 to 86, and then boom, ramp things up. So the middle of next week, we should hit 90, even our first shot at the mid-90s by next Friday. I think for sure if we avoid the rain, that's going to be another Ben-approved pool day. As far as our lows go, barely moving. We're 71 to 72 starting on Friday for the foreseeable future. As far as our rainfall chances, today is the only day that you don't have at least a 20% chance for rain over the next 10, so take advantage.
All right, Chris. Live pictures right now over uptown. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're back at 8:26 with another update, especially on traffic, because we know it's been problematic this morning, but also know to check that forecast, and then back with the headlines at 8:30. Keep it right here on WCNC Plus this morning and all day long.
Well, good Wednesday morning, everyone. Want to give you an update on those area roadways. We've been following a big accident this morning on I-85 northbound. Here's a live look of what's currently ongoing. Multiple emergency responders have been on scene. We know at least one person has gotten seriously injured by that accident. It's on Glenwood Drive. Notice cars are still pushing through. It's just moving rather slowly. But the good news is that that scene is actually cleared. Everything is pushed off to the side and people are starting to spread out. But we are still seeing that back up there, I-85 north. If you want to avoid it, I suggest taking Freedom to Bradford over towards Hoskins before you get back onto Brookshire Boulevard. You can see this is still the ongoing accident. Again, I-85 northbound lanes being impacted by that, being able to move slowly, but at least traffic is flowing. Be mindful of this as you're heading out for your morning commute. But for now, Chris, how is the weather today? Is it going to be nice and sunny?
Of course, just for you, and a great traffic report there. We have high temperatures in the upper 80s today, a slight wind out of the southwest, and you will pick up more clouds by the end of the day. As far as our rainfall chances go, I don't even have Wednesday on here because today you barely have a chance for rain and really an isolated to spotty shower to the east. And then once you get into your Friday through the weekend, I think it's a much better chance for scattered rain, especially during the evening hours. Here's our 7-day forecast, 86 to 88 degrees over the next 7 days. Most rain chances again late afternoon heading into most evenings. Today is the one that stands out from all of the rest. We are live streaming right now each and every day on WCNC Plus, so hopefully you join us right now. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for streaming live on WCNC Plus at 8:30 on this Wednesday. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Ben Thompson. Breaking news on the morning commute. Majestic standing by, and just in the last few minutes, the situation on 85 there is improving, but it's still problematic.
I think improving is a perfect word because it's not exactly clear. We're no longer seeing that icon pop up on our map, and we know that really everything is pushed off to the side. Traffic is still able to move through this area, but it is still going to slow down your morning commute. Now, this is an ongoing accident, I-85 northbound. I guess it just got cleared, but we're still seeing those ongoing impacts. It's there at Glenwood Drive, and you can see this is a very busy start to the day as people are heading out for their morning commute. Want to put things into perspective? I'll show you exactly where it is as we're looking at our traffic maps. You can still see those slowdowns right here, I-85 northbound. So if you do just want to avoid all of that, another option is taking Freedom Drive up towards Bradford over towards Hoskins before you get back onto Brookshire. So that's what we're really watching. I want to show you one more time of our live look of that ongoing slowdown because of that previous accident. With all the emergency responders on scene, we do know that at least one person got injured and does have serious injuries with that ongoing situation there. Otherwise, we are following this one crash. It's on Idaho Drive at Roswell's Ferry Road. You can see it popped up in yellow, and there's a quick look at some of those drive times. If you're getting ready to head out the door coming in from Belmont, about 33 minutes and 56 coming in from Salisbury.
All right, Majestic, thanks so much. 3 kids are recovering this morning after they were hit by a car while selling lemonade at a home in Burke County. This morning, we're learning the driver who hit them will not be charged, but a different driver will be.
WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood spoke to some of the neighbors there in that close-knit community who tell her they're only concerned those 3 kids.
We thought all 3 of them were dead.
Shock and terror for the families of 3 Morganton kids hit by a car while trying to sell lemonade in their neighborhood.
It's been very emotional. I was bawling my eyes out.
Investigators say the driver veered off the road and hit the kids while trying to avoid a car came into this yard and slammed into it. Those kids right here working to sell lemonade. That sign now sat to the side.
It's very traumatized, yes ma'am. It's very harsh. The parents should not to see nothing like that.
The driver that hit the kids is not facing charges. Instead, investigators say the other driver was charged with a misdemeanor for failing to yield and given a citation.
Frustrated with the lady that hit my grandbaby, of course. I mean, it's a natural thing, but I've got calmed down and, I've just prayed about it.
Kaylin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
As for those 3 kids, we can tell you one of them is already out of the hospital, resting at home this morning. The 2 others are still in the hospital.
All right, let's check back in with Chris now for another update on our forecast for this Wednesday, getting into the upper 80s today.
Yeah, no, we're doing it. It's a great day, and Ben brought up a real good point that it's the first day of summer break for CMS students, and what a day to have for that. It's still going to be on the sticky side of things, 85 still feeling like 88, and those muggy marks actually come down a little bit through the afternoon, so even once we get to about the 87, 88 degree mark, it's still going to feel only about 2 degrees warmer. So yeah, we could have a real feel close to 90 degrees, but this is still sensational. How you're looking in the background right here around Monroe is pretty much what we're going to have for the first half of the day. Just picking up a few more clouds by the back end. In the mountains, wow. Seriously, what a trip. I wish I could just take a drive up here because for one, the mid to the upper 70s feels great, but 2, you have a break from the mugginess today. It is that front that moved through earlier this morning that's stripping away some of that moisture. That is sensational. And our foothills to northwestern Piedmont, you're ranging anywhere from 86 to 88 degrees. Morganton is part of what's called the isothermal belt. Actually warms up pretty decently here. Sometimes that can be the air flowing down the mountains as well. So oftentimes Morganton will match the Charlotte area, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. And then down towards the south, we're pretty much rocking the same thing, about 88 degrees. Chesterfield, I don't know why that dropped down on me. I had 89 before it did a little flipperoo. But yeah, you're close to about 90 degrees in some parts in Chesterfield County, including Pageland later on today. Elsewhere, taking a closer look, you really see those upper 80s across the board. Looking at our day and nighttime rain chances, check out tomorrow. Tomorrow, things really start to become widely scattered to that scattered potential. And then our evening marks are also starting to really match that as well. So our evening rain chances start about 6 until 6 a.m. Our daytime rain chances, whenever you see the separation, is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I think for the most part, I'm seeing a little bit more rain during the evening time over the next few days compared to what we see during the afternoon. Oh yeah, by the way, just burying the lead, today is my pick of the week. It's approved pool day via Ben, so we have a lot of good check marks for today. Our dew point forecast, right around 70 degrees, is always going to be that mugginess, and we're going to be dealing with a lot more of that heading into the weekend. I think we're going to have some of our most humid air and uncomfortable air that we've had so far this season, and it's a real special treat to even just drop down to the sticky level that we have later on this afternoon for these jump right back up and beyond. That's also translating over to a better rain chance. That 40 to 50 is representing just a chance for a general scattered shower or thunderstorm. Here's what our rain chances look like today. I think that you're dry right around Charlotte, but check it out. We're starting to see some spotty activity as this front starts to move back into the area. So it's really just from Albemarle over to Wadesboro to the east that we're going to have that potential. By tomorrow, it's a different script. We're kind of back to where we have been, where 1 or 2 storms could bubble up during the afternoon, mainly after 2. That's the magic hour. And then we have scattered showers and thunderstorms throughout your Thursday evening through your Thursday night. Friday morning actually could be a wet one before that rain starts to die off. And then we rinse and repeat, everyone. Isolated showers turning scattered into the evening, and then some of that activity could last through the overnight heading into Saturday morning. And I think we have that pretty much each day, Thursday through Sunday. So a better chance that you're going to stay dry, I would really say before 2 o'clock for each weekend days if you're trying to make any outdoor plans, and especially on Sunday for Father's Day. 86 to 88 is what I have for our highs over the next 7, so not a lot of changes going forward. So enjoy another week of June feeling like June.
Chris, thanks. We're learning new details this morning about the deaths of 2 people at a Charlotte hotel.
A 36-year-old woman and a 1-year-old were found dead. WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards looked through that CMPD police report to get some answers.
Police don't suspect there was any foul play, but the circumstances around these deaths are raising questions about who was watching over this family and why it took so long for anyone to notice something was wrong. CMPD says 36-year-old Shannon Solomon and a 1-year-old boy were found dead on Friday inside a room at the Baymont Hotel on Equipment Drive. The hotel now operates as a substance abuse recovery center, but it was previously used to house families through a city-backed program run by Heal Charlotte. That lease ended in April. Since then, a new program called HELP has taken over. Its director, Cedric Dean, claims some former tenants never vacated, and he even tried to offer money for them to leave. According to the police report, when he tried to remove a tenant himself, he was arrested.
The day that the city chose to put me in jail, that's the day that they failed this family.
Some people say they heard a child crying, but if we're not supposed to pay attention to this room and leave these rooms alone because they were in the Heal Charlotte program, and we don't want to cause them any more grief, we kind of pretty much, we've been giving them their space.
Dean says his staff eventually broke policy to check on the room. That's when they found the bodies. But legal experts say landlords still have to follow the court process to enter a tenant's space, even if there are safety concerns. HELP program leaders say there are no former Heal Charlotte families staying at the hotel anymore. CMPD is still investigating, but again, at this point, they don't believe anyone else was involved. In Uptown, I'm Destiny Richards, WCNC Charlotte.
A new program in the Asheville area hopes to help people whose homes were damaged by Helene. The Reduce to Rebuild program is going to help in the planning and permitting process for folks repairing their homes. It runs through the end of the year. Eligible homes will get a 50% reduction on some of those inspection fees. Small business recovery efforts underway after Hurricane Helene. And during last night's live impact news stream right here on WCNC Plus, we spoke to David Jackson. Now, David's the president of the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce. He says state lawmakers should pull Hurricane Helene recovery legislation out of the budget process, adding small businesses cannot wait months for the House and Senate to come together and debate the budget. He also says while businesses are getting back on track, they still have a long way to go. Here's part of that interview.
I would love to give you the Chamber of Commerce answer and say, yeah, we're fine, we're good, and we're not. We're just not. That statistic that Governor Stein mentioned comes from the Small Business Administration, and yes, 40% of businesses that have been involved in a disaster of this magnitude do limp along for a while and ultimately find that the circumstances are insurmountable. We are seeing that in Watauga County, we're seeing that in Avery County, Ashe County, and all throughout the western North Carolina region. That is a part of reality. Part of that reality is the timing of how aid is getting to people. The state of North Carolina has never been accused of getting money out the door as quickly as their constituents need it. And that's across all administrations. That's not a criticism. That is a fact, right? So what we are hoping is that through the work of Grow NC, through the work of what has mostly been, again, a bipartisan cooperation on this particular issue, that the House and Senate can see that timing is everything. That grant program that I mentioned earlier, it's again a revenue, tied to lost revenue, and that's where we're seeing those business closures coming from now. It's one thing to get your doors open again. What you do not get to rebuild in the time frame that we're in currently is the savings that you had to expend back in October, November when the doors were closed. I'll say this to nonprofits that are out there, whether it's the Boone Area Chamber Foundation, whether it's Samaritan's Purse, Wine to Water, some of these other organizations that have been so helpful. The nonprofits have really carried the direct grant load for this disaster at this point. That's not to say that state partners, especially in government, aren't doing what they can, and there's obvious coordination with FEMA that has gotten very complicated lately, but that is all still very bureaucratic in nature and is not necessarily trickling down to the people that need it fast enough. People have been very busy for the last 8+ months, repairing, rejuvenating the area. Now that we are in the prime season for Boone, the outdoor economy always treats us well. And those river outfitters, those folks that guide you on the tubing trips, hiking guides, all of that, they have been incredibly busy making sure that those experiences are available. So whether that's all the way down in Cherokee on up to Sparta, those opportunities exist, and we want to make sure that people know that not only are tourism businesses open, but the rest of our economy is coming along quite well. Understanding too that there are always still some pockets of inconvenience here and there, but that's everywhere. We are on our way to healing, and really hope that this summer can be the bridge season that we really need it to be.
Now, we've been keeping an eye on some of your efforts with the chamber, what y'all have been doing. In part, looks like you're doing pretty regular surveys of small businesses just to kind of get a temperature of how they're feeling. Are they struggling? Do they feel like they might be struggling eventually? And then also just kind of making efforts, which we can talk a bit more about with this resilience grant, the disaster resilience. But how are the surveys going? What are you finding from all of this research?
I think we're optimistic now, and that we are starting to see some patterns of stability. And stability does not necessarily mean back to what things looked like at this time last year. But what it means is that the roller coaster that we were on December, January, February were not only the hurricanes impacts, but the cold winter that we had was great on the ski slopes, not necessarily so great for construction, for businesses getting some of those necessary repairs done. So as the spring has moved forward, we have seen businesses pretty much at an even keel, that down 20% seems to be the norm across retail, across some of the hospitality industries. That was kind of ending up in April. We're about to put out our May call to action now to see where things were, but the trends are moving in the right direction. That we're still seeing some of that I'll call it retail commerce down, but we are seeing visitor traffic start to improve, and we're seeing zip codes that are coming to the community come from farther away. So that means the messaging's getting out there. I think people are finding out, even from word of mouth, that their friends are coming to the high country. They're having a quality experience. They may still find some of those same places. Again, may take an extra second or two to get there, but they're still finding it to be the same welcome, warm place. And that is going to help us as we move into the summer see continued improvement in that.
So sometime this summer, make sure you get up to the mountains, Boone, Asheville, Blowing Rock, up around there, and spend some money and support some of those small businesses. All the details of that conversation right now here on WCNC Plus.
All week long, our weather team has been telling you about isolated and scattered storms, but do you know the difference between the two?
We're handing it over to meteorologist Chris Mulcahy to explain in this week's Weather IQ.
This is one of the most asked weather questions. What's the difference between isolated and scattered rain showers? Well, let's raise that weather IQ. The percentages you see in our forecast and on the 7-day is actually called a POP, or probability of precipitation. It's how likely we're going to get measurable rain, or at least 1/100th of an inch in a given area during a specific time. But here's the key. POP isn't just a guess, it's actually a formula. POP equals confidence times area covered. So let's say we're 100% confident that it will rain, but only 20% of the area will see that. That's now a 20% chance for rain. That's why we call it isolated showers, where just a few spots may get wet. Now, if that jumps to 40%, it means the rain will be more prevalent and cover more of the area. That's when we call it scattered rain showers. 60% chance for rain. This usually means scattered showers are now becoming more likely than not. But let's visualize this one more time. You ready? This is Chrisville, divided into 5 sections. A 20% shower was isolated to only 1 criss of 5. Then rain was scattered. Up to 40% of the crisses got wet, but it was more likely they stayed dry. Now at 60%, more than half of the crisses here are impacted. 80 to 100%, likely anyone would have gotten wet at some point during that day. Wishing you stayed dry and prepared no matter the chance for rain, I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy.
A trip to Chrisville, always education.
Who knew?
Speaking of the forecast, make sure you check out our new show on WCNC Plus every night at 6:30. It's Bradville. No, it's not called. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich is going to be live to break down the weather moving across our area, going into more depth, more detail than you can on a typical newscast. WCNC Plus, as you know at this point, free to download. Turn it on in the morning and keep us on throughout the day.
Tell your friends about it too.
Oh, for sure. No, that's great programming there. Brad's one of the best in the biz.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't go to Chrisville. The mayor is batty.
Oh, really?
It's not really organized and well-run town.
Educational, but sometimes scary place.
Yeah,
You never know what you're going to get.
Exactly.
I bet it's always a fun time, though.
That's right.
It is always a good time.
To say the least.
That's right. All right. Well, come over to Chrisville. It's going to be a good time. Or if you're going to be around the Charlotte area, here are your rain chances. And a scatter potential for your Thursday and Thursday night, as we just learned. That's about a 40 to 50% chance. Now, isolated on Friday. And that's the good news here, is I think during the day, we're only going to have isolated showers, but I think it's actually turning over to be more likely that we see rain on Friday night. And that's another thing. These are our daytime rain chances. There's also an overnight rain chance that just complicates things, but I don't want to do that to you. Here is a look at where we're going over the next 10 days. This starts tomorrow. This is really interesting. Oftentimes you might just see these around isolated about 20%. Now that we're seeing a lot of those 30s and 40s, that shows that the atmosphere is really juiced up, that it's really prime to develop more showers, more storms going over the next few days. So I would really just say, I would, after 2 o'clock each day, expect that you could have a pop-up shower and thunderstorm. We get used to this after a while, but it is a little bit shock and awe to the system initially. So I want to start with today. Today you have a front that is now passing the area. This is the front that was directly over us yesterday. Now, a lot of us stayed dry, so you don't even know what I'm talking about for the storms unless you were looking at the radar. Meanwhile, if you watched around Statesville, Salisbury, Huntersville, I think you even saw a decent downpour. Southern parts of Iredell County, you had rain for up to 2 hours, and it was pouring during that spat. So it just depends where you are. And it looks like today, I think if you live southeast of Charlotte, you might have a chance for a light shower. Really, it's from Albemarle to Wadesboro to the east is our best chance for a developing storm heading into the evening. But likely, most of us are staying dry along this front. This front eventually is going to fade out, turns over to a trough by tomorrow, but that'll still be enough to fire up a storm during the afternoon. Here are isolated to scattered chances for storms tomorrow. Now, that's one thing about our futurecast. It's always a real advantage to kind of see where things are generally forming. Now, this can always change, but we're looking at like a little bit more energy will be off towards the west. So I think our best chance for rain is really going to be the foothills and the mountains heading into your Thursday evening. But watch what happens overnight. I think we have a leftover system that starts to lose steam, but still makes its way to the Charlotte area by your Thursday night into Friday morning. So there will be a chance for some morning rain on Friday. That exits, leaving us a little bit of fog, and we rinse and repeat. Pop-up shower or thunderstorm right around 2 o'clock. Then heading into the evening, we have a better chance for more showers and storms. But you notice that coverage really wasn't that great on Friday. Friday, most of the day, I think is going to stay dry. But then during your Friday late evening, that's the best chance for showers and storms. So say if you live anywhere around the 485 loop, let's name Pineville. I think you're dry for the entirety of your Friday until probably after the sun sets, and then you have lingering rain and showers overnight. So just showing you this one more time. Also, our extended forecast showing our lows barely moving any, only falling down to 71 to 72 degrees starting on Friday, and that goes all the way until the following Friday. But this is the last point I want to make. The 7-day forecast I showed you only had a range of 86 to 88 degrees. Look what happens after that. Next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the lower 90s, dare I even say our first chance at the mid 90s, the middle of next week. So stay cool, my friends.
All right, let's take a look at those area roadways as we're heading out the door this morning. This has been the biggest accident this morning. It's on I-85 northbound at Glenwood Drive, but this accident has since been cleared. If your morning commute is going to take you this way, you may still notice a couple of emergency responders off to the side, but right now all lanes are currently open. Live look there, I-77 coming in from York County. Good morning to everyone. What a beautiful start to the day it is, but we do still have multiple accidents to go over with you this morning. We'll start with this one, an accident on Sugar Creek Road at Greensboro Street. You can see some minor impacts there, seeing pockets of yellows and oranges, meaning that cars are still moving. It's just going to be a little slower than it typically would be for your morning commute. This one seems to be slowing people down. It's on Moorhead Street at College Street. We're seeing all of those impacts there, so allow for a little extra drive time this morning. And this final crash here on Kenilworth Ave at Scott Ave. So make sure you're careful as you're heading out the door. Grab the sunglasses. It is beautiful. We'll have another check on those area roads coming up in just a bit. Ben.
All right, Majestic, thanks. After another round of disruptive weather, Porter Ridge and Sun Valley High Schools had to push back their graduation ceremonies today. Union County Schools say the postponements were to make sure graduates, their families, staff were safe. So Porter Ridge happening right now, started at 8 a.m. and Sun Valley is going to take place at 8 o'clock tonight. Well, college graduates are now stepping out into the real world, and many of them may not be prepared for it. A recent survey finds more than 70% of recent grads are worried about their next step, and that includes landing their first job, paying off debt, and negotiating salaries. In fact, more than half say negotiating a salary is more stressful to them than breaking up with a partner. It's not that bad.
No, not that bad.
But it all, might come down to perspective. The survey also finds 71% of last year grads felt like their year after graduation was a lot better than they expected.
That's some good news. I mean, welcome to the real world where things happen. You have to learn to negotiate and advocate for yourself. But
That's right.
You can do it. All right, 1 year from today, the 2026 FIFA World Cup will kick off in Mexico City. It will be the start of 104 matches across 16 host cities in 3 countries.
And since it's so spread out, each host city gets to pick their own theme song to put their stamp on the World Cup. This is what Dallas came up with. Here. Some of that Texas flair in the music created by a Grammy Award-winning producer. So we thought we'd try our shot at it. We gave our producer, Reese, a description of what we thought would be a good World Cup theme. We each did one. We'll start with mine.
One game we play is one heart, one flame under the sun.
That sounds like Ben Thompson on vacation.
I love it.
Yeah, you're dreaming on the beach.
Margarita or mojito?
Something.
Maybe. Yeah, it's great.
All right, well, keeping with that, this is my World Cup theme. Listen closely.
I like it.
Let's go. You like that?
Yeah.
A nice little
I hope you
song.
leave work with that.
It'd be good for a slow motion
That is a good
montage.
leave-in.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it really would.
I said it was a good hype song for herself.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, Chris, your turn.
I didn't know that there could be words, but mine is just pretty much what my mind sounds like. Here we go. Drop that beat.
I feel like I
So
should be
Chris.
like in a European dance club.
Every day when I walk into
With a
work,
soccer
that's
ball.
what's playing every single day.
All right, let's get
All right,
Majestic real
Majestic.
quick.
A majestic storm, the winds I guide, strong like the gusts, fierce like a tide. Sun peeks out before a crack of light, then I come out a powerful sight. Tornado spin.
Wow.
Was
Nobody's
not
messing with me
expecting
with
that.
that song.
I mean, all very different, I must say.
Very, very different.
Very different, but I like them.
A well-rounded team.
I think so.
I feel like for your song, I have to stand like this.
Of course.
I feel like doing an Irish jig or
That part was a little random off the top.
All right. Live picture right now from our live Impact News Stream studio. Jane Morrell is going to be taking over in just a couple of minutes. She's speaking to Danielle Stein about Panthers camp. Before we get to that, though, another check of your forecast and traffic. Keep it right here on WCNC Plus throughout the day.
Well, good morning, everybody. Your pick of the week. Oh, it's a good one. Your 88-degree point. And the reason why I chose this is because it not only is a beautiful day, you also have lower dew points that is a little less muggy. We're splitting hairs here. This is barely less muggy than any other day, but I had to find some reason to give the pick of the week. But really, the main one is that 0, barely a chance for rain today. That's further off towards the east. And then we have scattered rain chances after that. Mid to the upper 80s for most of the week. Building thunderstorm chances heading into the weekend. Majestic.
All right, we've been following this crash for a while now. It was on I-85 northbound at Glenwood Drive. It has since been cleared, but if you typically take I-85 and you pass this area, there are still some emergency responders off to the side, so make sure you are driving with caution. Again, it is cleared and cars are still able to move through. It might just add on a couple of extra minutes for that morning commute. Otherwise, it is still busy out there. This accident here starting to make some impacts. It's on Sugar Creek Road and Greensboro Street, and another one here. You can see all that red on Moorhead Street in College.